Hello, I am RogerEUC, and today I sit here with you today to talk about the GodMod. So the GodMod is a mystery package of autofocus. That's better. So it is a mystery wrapped in shrink wrap and silicone. What is inside it? Some say voodoo, magic, dreams, aspirations. Others, like me, say capacitors. And you're watching my video, so you're going to hear what I have to say, which is I think this is a couple of large, low ESR capacitors, which are very low resistant capacitors. So if you measure the resistance between these two cables, it is very near zero, which is a good thing for high output applications. Things like the Molicel batteries are also low resistance compared to like the 50E batteries, for example, which the lower the resistance, the faster the voltage of whatever is stored in there, the capacity can be dumped. So low ESR capacitors are number one in current dumping. Then I'd guess number two in my realm of things would be supercapacitors, which Kevin from eRides, he did a bank of supercapacitors as his GodMod approximation, which I don't know, it would be an apples to oranges kind of thing, but he got his wheel to balance with it for 20-some seconds, which sounds interesting, but don't think that would be all that helpful. What Declan, who is the creator of the GodMod, was going for is something that can dump huge amounts of current for long enough to keep you from having catastrophic failure of the wheel. I don't think it does that. It does something. It's a hooking up capacitors to electronics is commonplace for a reason, but what kind of things would it do in our system? So this is a main board from one of my recently deceased masters, or maybe this is Josh's recently deceased Master Pro, whichever. They look this, oh wait, it's labeled Begode Master V2. That was out of my board. These big brown things are giant capacitors. So there's 680 nanofarads, or pico UF, you know what those are, farads. And they're rated at 200 volts. So if you're going to be putting capacitors into your system, try to get them rated for 150%, the maximum voltage you're supposed to have. But you also want to minimize the length of the legs off of the capacitor. So the capacitors are best served like direct PCB mounted like that. So they're actually soldered right there on the other side, and the excess leg fat is trimmed off. So the setup that we have with this is a long cable. Now, my testing involved hooking this up between the voltage distribution board and the main board, and it added what I thought was a lot of length of cable, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing from resistance, but it's a bad thing from inductance. So an inductance is like electrical inertia. So if you have a big, huge, long cable with no current flowing through it, and then you all of a sudden want current to flow through it, it takes a second for the flow of electrons to create that standing magnetic field around the cable that has to be there for the electricity to flow. So it's like, I don't know, that's all fun physicsy stuff, but this is adding more inductance than I would want to see in this sort of system, because what I look at this thing as would be sort of mainboard protection. If you have a large capacitor, it's going to reduce the spikes that are hitting your mainboard. But is that necessary? So the reason I say that is, if I have a mainboard with no capacitors on it, so let's just take this one. So we take off both of these big fat capacitors and hook this up the normal way. The wheel might actually work, it might balance, you might be able to ride it, but you're almost guaranteed to fry the mainboard within a ride or two. Now, let's say you add one capacitor. You're probably actually good. It'll probably keep on working. You might not have too much weirdness from excess noise in the system, but these are filtering out that noise, making your PID loop happier, your PID controller, proportional integral derivative, which is the thing that does all your set points and everything. It'll tell the wheel, I want to be at this angle, but you're at this angle. So I'm going to put force necessary to do that, and it'll also have other things. So it's setting the set point, it's setting the strength of the staying, and it's setting the strength of the bounce back on things. It's, I don't know. Drone people know a lot about that stuff. I used to consider myself a drone person, but I could program my PID loop, but I don't know. They're still mysterious. And then they keep adding other elements to it. But okay, but back to what I was saying is pretty much coming down to the law of diminishing returns. No capacitors, total crap. One capacitor, better. Two capacitors, better than that. Three capacitors on this system, I might not be able to tell the difference anymore. Four, I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference. 5, 6, 7, 8. GodMod, not going to be able to tell the difference. So as we are adding to the system, we are losing the benefit of that capacitance in the system. So I would say it might not actually have any benefit at all. It might have a minor benefit, but on my wheel, I was not able to discern a benefit, which, as I mentioned before, this was hooked up through there, and I could plug and unplug this on a whim and feel the difference of the extra capacitors that are on there. So, is the GodMod worth it? Not for me. Is it worth it for somebody? Could be. Maybe you have something wrong with your board. Maybe your wheel was engineered with not enough capacitance to begin with in the first place. But whatever the case may be for you, I know for me, on my Begode Master, I did remove it, and I don't plan on putting it back in. That being said, for you, maybe it'll be a great thing that'll make you safer. Part of the problem I had with the whole thing was the claims that were being made, your wheel cannot cut out anymore. So they say, you can add one, and you won't cut out anymore. And then why would you add two? Because they also say you could add two. And I've seen people that have had like 5 of these things on their wheel. But yeah, so once again, law of diminishing returns. If you add one and you can't cut out anymore, what do you need more for? But you can still cut out. I've raced without the GodMod, and I've done quite well. And I've raced people that have had the GodMod, and I think it all just comes down to the rider as to where you're going to finish. Or you could be like me and not finish because somebody crashes into you at the starting line. But anyway, no grudge, no grudge. So if you guys are interested in anything else with the GodMod, questions, whatever, throw them in the comments. I will go through and I'll answer whatever I can answer, because I'm sure I missed tons of stuff on here. I don't want friends of mine that will not benefit from this throwing down the money on this, when they could, as like Euro says, buy a better helmet or a motorcycle jacket or something like that. But anyway, we're all in this sport together, so if I can come up with anything that I think is useful, I'm happy to share it, and that comes down to information and stuff. So if anybody's got anything that they'd like to add, I might be able to do a follow-up video or something, but it does turn out that I'm pretty lazy, so I don't do a lot of videos. Looking forward to doing more, out and about videos and all. Oh, by the way, new camera setup, new audio, working on my new studio over here, and we'll probably be seeing more of this place. This is where Josh Morgan had his wheel brought back to life. But yeah, I fixed plenty of wheels in here. And many more to come. Thank you much. We'll talk to you later. Peace.